government does not owe employees of Air Namibia any money. I believe what you're talking about the severance pay of the employees that is owed by Air Namibia, not by government, by Air Namibia to the company. Okay. Now, what you should also remember is that once a company is liquidated, it's in the hands of the liquidators. It is completely in the hands, out of the hand of the shareholder. So I think it's important to understand the difference. Yeah, because sometimes we mix up. Government has given the 12-month salary in a lump sum, and it has honored its commitment. What now needs to happen is that liquidators need to collect money from those who owe Namibia money to be able to have the cash to pay out the severance pay to the employees. So that depends on the cash flow that is coming into Namibia. And I believe that liquidators are trying their best. So once they have the cash, the employees will be the first one to receive their severance pay. The constraint now is really they don't have the cash to pay out.
Welcome back. That was Finance Minister Ipumbushimi responding to questions put to him by PDM MP Jan van Wyk on the status of debt owed to Air Namibia employees. Now joining us in studio to reflect on how their lives have changed over the last 15 months and how they've managed to stay afloat since losing their employment, it's former Air Namibia employee Renier Bougard, while his former colleague Alwina Rijarua joins us on the line. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Good Morning Namibia.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Good morning, madam, and welcome to Good Morning Namibia.
Good morning, Denver, and good morning to the viewers. Thank you.
Now, as shared in the introduction, it's been 15 months since the liquidation of Air Namibia. From your perspective, ma'am, talk to us about how your life has been impacted since the liquidation of the airline.
Thank you, Denver, for the question. It has been really tough for me because all along, all these years, the topic of discussion was just restructuring. So it hasn't been that much easy for me to come to terms with just wake up after 24 years of service to be told that this is your last day of working. So this was had a huge financial impact on myself as the only breadwinner, and it was very emotionally draining.
Now, hearing you say that you are the only breadwinner, what impact has that devastating fact had after having lost your employment on your loved ones?
It forced me very much to change my lifestyle drastically because I didn't have the same income anymore. And being given a huge amount just like that, it needed a lot of thinking. You needed to consult in order to make a calculated risk on how to spend or reinvest these funds in order to come up with a long-term plan to sustain yourself. And so it was very challenging.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Sir, how has life been for you since the liquidation of the national airline?
Well, life has been...
Just one moment, ma'am. We're also just engaging your former colleague here in studio, Mr. Bougard.
Okay, Denver.
Thank you.
Yes, like she said, it's not easy because we're still struggling. It was a privilege to work for Air Namibia, I have to say that. I've been working there for 22 years. There's a lot of people that work for a lot of years, up to 30 years. So you have to imagine the ages that these people are having, and to go into a job market now and to reinvent yourself, because you have to remember that aviation is a specialized industry, and you have to now start from the bottom again and reinvent yourself. It is 640 families that have been affected. So in total, that's about 3,200 people that have lost income, and people are really struggling. We are currently having two groups with all the employees currently in communication with each other, because this chapter has not been finalized, as the clip from the Minister has indicated.
We'll get to the particulars of what the Minister shared in the National Assembly earlier this week in a bit. The fact of the matter is, despite the dire straits that you are facing, and which one acknowledges, in an unprecedented move, you received salaries for 12 months, despite losing your employment. What do you make of that?
Well, I guess, why did they give that salary? Number one is because government felt liable to the employees of Air Namibia, because remember, Air Namibia was wholly owned by the government of Namibia. It was a parastatal. So why would they pay 12 months salary if they did not feel liable towards the employees? It was also called the ex gratia payment. And nobody in this country actually, even with the tax people while we're filing tax and things like that, knows what ex gratia means and what it is. Now, I'm glad the minister said it's 12 months salary. So why would you pay somebody 12 months salary that you don't know or that you're not liable for or responsible for? But people are just hiding behind the law now and not coming to the table and addressing this issue. 15 months down the line, we are still struggling to get our severance packages. We are not getting an audience with the minister with written letters through the Union of Natal that's assisting us, with written through our lawyer, but no comeback.
What audience do you hope to seek with the minister when his stance is clear that they've done their part and the severance pay's responsibility vests with the liquidators?
Well, the company was liquidated. That was their decision. All we want now is our severance packages. The labor law is very clear of this country that when you get terminated, and we were terminated involuntary, that on your last day, you're supposed to get your leave days, your notice pay, your 13th check, and your severance, which is one week for every year worked. 30 years worked, how much money is that? We even actually didn't negotiate for that package. And labor laws are clear that the unions have to negotiate for those packages. We have not been given that opportunity to negotiate. We are very thankful for the 12-month salary. But even before that, you have to understand that the airline was grounded for more than a year. And we were on the ground.
During which you also received your salary.
We received a salary, yes. But then maybe people think that I was a cabin crew member and there's the ground staff members. It's only management, top management, and maybe the pilots that receive huge amounts of money with a salary.
Thank you.
Ours is not that much.
Thank you. Let's engage your former colleague again. Ma'am, talk to us about the lifestyle adjustments that you have had to embark upon in order to stay afloat during this period.
Thanks, Denver. To a certain extent, this liquidation has really forced me to think outside the box, to become more business-minded or to explore more entrepreneurial opportunities. Because at the end of the day, I needed to create employment for myself. So all along, I had a dream of establishing a business which looks more in upgrading or changing the lives, the living standard of the people. So having these funds at my disposal, I decided to invest in an internet cafe at my village in Ondorobapa in Aminu's constituency. This idea actually came up after observing my people traveling long distances to other places like Obabas and Aranos for basic services like internet services, copies, and etc. So that's how I came up with that business, and that's how my life changed, actually.
What difference would you say the 12 months pay actually made to your ability to stay afloat?
It made a huge difference because I had cash at my disposal and I could invest it into business like I did, which I just mentioned now.
You heard the take of your colleague about the payment of the severance pay. We also heard the take of the Minister of Finance as shared in the National Assembly earlier this week. What do you make of the Minister's stance that responsibility to pay out the severance pay vests with the liquidators and not with them?
Okay, just like my colleague Renier just mentioned now, we are fully aware that the government is not directly responsible for paying the severance, though, but what we all along have been advocating for is that this has been long overdue. And we have been asking the government to help us, maybe to put pressure on the liquidators or those given the task of finalizing the liquidation process too, just to speed up the process.
Very well. Mr. Bougard, you mentioned the involvement of the union earlier. Have they been able to assist you in your pleas, in your quest to get your severance pay?
Well, they are trying. But, if doors are closed for you and nobody picks up the phones or nobody wants to give you an appointment or listen to you, we've been treated like outcasts. And the employees, former employees of Air Namibia do not deserve this. They do not deserve this. To lose your job is already traumatic. To lose your job within a pandemic is even worse. And then on top of that, while we are down, we have been kicked and been shouted around doors are being closed in our faces. Nobody wants to assist us. And the public out there thinks, oh, you got 12 months salary. Well, 12 months salary, my dear, is finished because we are working for 15 months already. And so all that we want is what is owed to us for the number of years that we worked for the company. You understand? And we as workers deserve that. And it is in our law that when you are terminated, you are supposed to get that package. We have been more than patient for 15 months now, and we can no longer take it.
It's no secret that Air Namibia had been facing financial dire straits for a very long time, long before the ultimate liquidation. From where you stand, are you convinced that the company had alternatives apart from liquidation?
Well, I have to inform you. The way the process was done, because I started one of the unions, the Namibian cabin crew union at the company. And during that time, while we had engagements with the Treasury Committee, liquidation was never on the table. Even South Africa was far ahead of us with regard to their liquidation process.
But that's not the question, Mr.
Yes,
Bougard.
yes,
I'm asking you whether it's your conviction that there were plausible, feasible alternatives.
Yes, they were, and it was under discussion. It was that the company should be restructured and slimmed down.
Very well.
Because we were top heavy. There were, or like we say, a lot of Indians, or a lot of chiefs and one Indian.
Very well. Have you been able to secure other employment?
No, not yet. Not yet. We are trying. But like I said, it's a specialized industry in aviation. All the diplomas or certificates that we have is aviation related. So when you apply, and also your age, I'm 46 years old, to go into the job market now and competing with graduates that are just graduating, that are also unemployed. And the unemployment percentage is about, I think, 50%. And everybody is just concentrating on the youth. Never mind the ones that are above 35.
So how are you coping?
Well, the ex-gratia was a big help because that assisted me in buying some sheep for the farm. So I'm going into farming now and into the meat business because everybody loves meat. That's where we are at. And I have to say, we are very grateful for that. Because we were already struggling at that point.
Thank you very much. Madam Alwina, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here, Denver.
Which are the key lessons that you've been able to draw from this experience, as painful as it remains to be?
Yeah, I think I can underline one thing, maybe also as an advice to others who might be caught up in the same situation, that even though you are employed full-time on a permanent basis, it's advisable to have a plan B because you never know when it will end. It can just end overnight unexpectedly. So it's always better to have a plan B.
Any final remarks from your perspective before we let you go?
Maybe a final remark will be maybe to the government or any other companies doing something like this in the future. I think it will be very important to have a procedure in place looking into the mental health conditions of the affected employees pre and post the liquidation process. Because these have caused, we lost a lot of lives. Some people took their lives. Some are suffering from depression. So if we can have something like that in place, maybe this will be handled better than this situation we are found ourselves now.
Thank you very much for your time and best of luck.
Thank you, Denver, and thank you to the listeners.
So talk to us about the key lessons that you have been able to draw from this painful experience.
Well, like she said, self-investment. Do not depend on the government because they will only disappoint you. Because I have to also inform you, we've lost 7 colleagues already that lost their lives. We are now, as a committee, because we've established a committee to fight for the severance packages of these employees.
Just one moment. Help us establish a causal link between the death of your former colleagues and the former employer.
Some are depressed. We've heard of people drinking, lying around in streets because, I mean, you've lost your income, you've lost your security, you've lost your medical aid, all of that. And the way it was done was not right. Because, like I said, we were busy with restructuring, and then the next morning we were just told, as of tomorrow, you won't have a job.
From your perspective and your understanding.
Yes.
Yeah. And the lesson that you learned, apart from self-investment?
self-investment, that is all I can say, because if you don't invest in yourself, you will be disappointed.
Very well. To what extent has this experience united the former employees of Air Namibia? Are you witnessing some solidarity?
Of course, we are fully within solidarity with each other, as well as with some of the unions, as well as some of the federations in this country, as well as other workers, Transnamib and all of that, because in the transport industry. We are still, because this chapter hasn't been closed yet, we are still fighting the good fight, because until we get our final separation package, this fight is still not over, and that is why we have to show solidarity and be united together as workers.
Your final thoughts, sir, before we let you go?
Yes, I would just like to mention something. We want immediate payment of our severance packages. Never mind what the law says. There's also something...
What do you mean, never mind what the law says?
The law says we have to wait until the liquidation process has been finalized.
Yes.
And we don't know how long that will take. I mean, I cannot tell the bank, wait until the liquidation process is finalized before I can pay off my house. People are losing houses, people are losing their lives, people are losing their health, their mental state, they're in depression, people are drinking. And how does that help? How does that build the nation? So what we want is immediate payment of our severance packages. It is owed to us. It's not something that we are begging for, or it's something that we worked for. We want the ex gratia that we got paid. They want us to file tax with a pay slip. Ministry of Public Enterprises want us to file tax with a pay slip. NAMRA says you cannot file tax with a pay slip. We informed them we want a pay as you earn 5, a tax certificate that shows that you received this money. And that pay slip shows it was paid by the government of Namibia. Why? Because the government of Namibia was liable for Air Namibia workers.
Thank you.
And they are denying that. The other thing is, we want the winding up of the Air Namibia retirement fund, because it's 50 months down the line and it hasn't happened yet.
Thank you very much, sir.
Another thing is, if I may, it is very important. Since we have been terminated, we are struggling for 15 months to get the labor certificate to say that these people, as a collective, 640 of them, have been terminated, to issue us with a certificate from labor to enable us to get a tax exemption once the severance packages have been paid. This is nothing new. But why do we as Air Namibian employees have to fight so hard for everything? Like I said, we've already been kicked, or we've already lost our jobs. So why are you kicking us while we are done?
Thank you very much for your time,
We
sir.
just want what is owed to us.
We hear and believe you. Thank you very much and best of luck.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the opportunity. You guys are the first one that actually asked as to what is the well-being of the workers of the former of Air Namibia. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir. Those were former Air Namibia employees talking to us about their dire straits since the liquidation of the company some 15 months ago. Elago Shitatala is standing by with the news at 7.